Oh boy, did politics also happen this week? Or what? Hunter Biden now has to wear an ankle bracelet to the sex clubs he's been kicked out of, while Justice Samuel Alito will only go to a sex club if the sex club spot would otherwise go unoccupied. We have a new entrant in the Republican presidential primary who refuses to be cool and tell fun lies, and an old entrant on the Democratic side whose cat now runs her presidential campaign by default. But first, let's start with a rift in the Bozo impeachment caucus.
1. Lauren Boebert.
Always putting her colleagues ahead of herself.
The at-best useless Colorado representative found a new way this week to do nothing on behalf of her constituents while pointlessly antagonizing the rest of the House Republican Conference. She introduced articles of impeachment against President Biden on 2 counts of not managing the southern border to her liking. What made Boebert's latest play for money and attention a problem for the rest of the Republican Conference, though, is that she filed the articles as a privileged resolution, forcing floor action on it within 2 days. That meant that Democrats would move to table or kill the resolution, setting up an uncomfortable proxy vote in which Republicans would have to go on the record about impeaching Biden. It's distracting BS that neither vulnerable Republican members nor leaders want right now. Eventually, leadership got Boebert to agree to a workaround. The Rules Committee folded Boebert's impeachment articles into a resolution that punted the impeachment question to committee, which passed the House along party lines. Even though Boebert acted selfishly and prematurely for the rest of her conference, it's worth noting that the impeachment question isn't going away. At some point, Republicans are going to want to impeach somebody, whether it's Biden or a cabinet secretary, or somebody's dog fur, at the very least, revenge over Democrats' 2 impeachments of Trump. They just need to find a culprit and a charge on which 218 Republicans can agree.
2. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
The Great Ding Dong Schism of 2023, or Little Bitchgate.
Were George Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert ever friends? Who's to say? When they entered Congress in 2021 together, they were, naturally disruptive allies. But their paths have diverged in this Congress. Greene, while still devoted to important coup policy matters like releasing Jan. 6 criminals from jail, has cozied up to Speaker Kevin McCarthy and become more of a cooperative member of the team. As Greene has worked her way into the popular kids, though, Boebert is still skipping class to smoke cigs under the bleachers. The tensions between the two were apparent during the Speaker's race in January, when they reportedly clashed in the ladies' room as Boebert was holding out against McCarthy. This week, Boebert's move to force a vote on impeachment hit a nerve with Greene. She, too, had introduced similar impeachment articles some time ago, but recognized it was too soon to force a vote on them. On Wednesday morning, Greene told reporters that Boebert had copied her work. Boebert approached Greene on the House floor later that day in response to the comments, and Greene let her have it. "I've donated to you, I've defended you, but you've been nothing but a little and stupid to me," Greene told Boebert, according to the Daily Beast reporting. "And you copied my articles of impeachment after I asked you to co-sponsor them." Greene confirmed the account multiple times to reporters, and when asked whether there was any hope of reconciliation between the two, Greene said absolutely not. An American tragedy.
3. Hunter Biden.
The real punishment was his banishment from the sex parties.
After years of investigating various alleged crimes committed by President Biden, who screwed up his son in an absolutely astounding way, this week the feds struck a deal with Hunter Biden. He pleaded guilty to a pair of tax-related misdemeanors. He hadn't paid a bunch of taxes, while a felony charge of possessing a gun while being a very active drug user was dropped. He'll get a couple of years probation. So, did this put an end to the Republican argument that there's a two-tiered system of justice that lets Democrats off easy? Absolutely not. If you are the president's leading political opponent, DOJ rise to literally put you in jail and give you prison time, Speaker McCarthy told reporters this week. If you are the president's son, you get a sweetheart deal. Fun fact, McCarthy and Hunter Biden both attended the White House state dinner with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday. Maybe they bonded over a dessert course of ketamine. To be honest with you, the deal does seem a little sweethearty, reader. What Republicans should keep in mind, though, is how very, very, very difficult it will be for someone like Hunter Biden to obey probation for an entire 2 years. This is a guy who can't make it more than one night at the sex club Besson CDM without getting kicked out. It's going to be a long couple of years for him.
4. Samuel Alito.
Oh, like you haven't ever done a little conflict of interest fishing.
You knew it would be pretty good when the Wall Street Journal opinion page posted a response, penned by Justice Samuel Alito, to allegations that hadn't been published yet. The allegations were then published. In 2008, according to ProPublica's reporting, Alito went on a luxury fishing trip to Alaska in which he was flown out on the private jet of one Paul Singer, a hedge fund billionaire who would later have business before the court. Alito didn't disclose the flight or the lodging, and didn't later recuse himself when Singer had business before the court. So, the usual. The best part of Alito's rebuttal, though, was how he justified taking what would have otherwise been an unoccupied seat on a private flight to Alaska. Do you ProPublica ninnies understand now? If he hadn't taken that seat, it would have been empty. And, give us one second here. And it would have been an inefficient flight that unnecessarily contributed to climate change. Isn't that what you haters all whine about? Climate change. Basically, he had to get on that flight to save the dumb bears. Sorry if that's scandalous.
5. Donald Trump.
An approval dip, an approval dip.
Did the news that Donald Trump was indicted for producing dramatic one-act readings of top-secret nuclear attack documents in the Mar-a-Lago ballroom hurt him at all with Republican voters? Maybe a little. A post-indictment poll from CNN this week showed Trump's approval rating among Republican-aligned voters falling from 77% in May to 67% after the indictment, while the share who say they would not support him for the nomination under any circumstances has climbed from 16% in May to 23% now. But that 33% of Republican-aligned voters can ultimately go suck an egg, because Trump still earned a commanding 47% support of Republican primary voters. Other findings from the poll: Americans are kind of sickos. 61% of Americans approved of the decision to indict Trump, while majorities of Democrats, Independents, and Republicans also believe politics played a role in the decision to indict. In short, Americans are overall pleased with what they believe to be a politically motivated prosecution.
6. Will Hurd.
Dude, just lie.
It's time for the new presidential candidate of the week. Enter Will Hurd, a moderate former House Republican and CIA agent. During his time in Congress, Hurd was well respected on both sides as a serious member of Congress, and in his launch video, he warned that if we nominate a lawless, selfish, failed politician like Donald Trump, who lost the House, the Senate, and the White House, we all know Joe Biden will win again. So yeah, Hurd has no chance. Were he to have even the slightest inkling of a chance, though, it would require getting on the debate stage to introduce himself to the country and attempting to make a splash. Hurd, however, has said that he will not sign the RNC's pledge to back the party's eventual nominee, a requirement for getting into the debates. I am not in the business of lying to the American people in order to get a microphone, and I'm not going to support Donald Trump, Hurd told CNN. And so I can't honestly say I'm going to sign something even if he may or may not be the nominee. Here's something Hurd should consider doing, though: lying to the American people in order to get a microphone. It's really important to get that microphone. Just lie.
7. Marianne Williamson.
Rocketing unemployment rate in Orb City.
Now let's look at a candidate who will almost certainly do better in her presidential primary than Will Hurd will in his. Marianne Williamson, the orb, who's running in her second straight Democratic presidential primary, is having a little trouble keeping staff on the payroll. She lost her second campaign manager this week. The first campaign manager to leave was Peter Dow, a 2016 diehard Hillary Stanton, 2020 diehard Bernie Stanton, 2024 Marianne will turned quitter of that gig. The second campaign manager to quit this week was Rosa Calderon, who lets pass the mic to Politico. He ran for Congress in 2018 but lost. During that campaign, she was sentenced to probation after allegedly stealing money from a local Democratic Party group to spend on gas, movie downloads, and Botterick Music Festival tickets. 7 staffers have departed in the last month, and Williamson herself has mostly been in London with her grandchild. We're not sure she's going to be president, but again, better chance than Will Hurd.